biri, biri, bim, bam, bim, 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 bam, bim, 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam.
I now invite Joanne and Gary Bernberg, to lead us in the candle lighting on page 121.
No, dear, not necessary. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'halakner shel Shabbat. Amen. Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, now with us, mitzvot, commanding us, and kindles life of Shabbat.
Amen.
Page 124. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into the sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. We continue at the top of page 127, responsively, page 127.
There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain.
On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share.
There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted.
On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation.
There are days when we act as if we care nothing for the rights of others.
On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal.
So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace.
Page 130. Lachuna ranana naria l'tzur yishenu. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai. Raise a shout for our rock and deliverer. Let us come into God's presence with praise. Let us raise a shout for God in song. For Adonai is a great God, the great ruler of all divine beings. Together at the top of page 131. In God's hand are the depths of the earth. The peaks of the mountains are God's. God's is the sea, God made it, and the land which God's hands fashioned. Come, let us bow down and kneel, bend the knee before Adonai our Maker. For Adonai is our God, and we are the people God tends, the flock in God's care. Oh, if you would but heed God's charge this day. Page 136. Mizmor LeDavid, a psalm of David. Ascribe to Adonai, O divine beings, ascribe to Adonai glory and strength. Ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name. Bow down to Adonai, majestic in holiness. The voice of Adonai is over the waters. The God of glory thunders. Adonai over the mighty waters. The voice of Adonai is power. The voice of Adonai is majesty. The voice of Adonai breaks cedars. Adonai shatters the cedars of Lebanon. God makes Lebanon skip like a calf, Sirion like a young wild ox. We continue with Shalom Aleichem on page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimel, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimel, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rahuni v'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We continue with the Chatzi Kaddish on page 144.
Yitgadal v'yitgadal shmei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divra chirute v'yamlik malkute v'kaye kon yomekon v'kaye neko bet Israel Bagala Ubizman kari v'imru amen Yeshmei Rabba Nevara Le'alam Ramehaya Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpar v'yitrovam v'yitnaseh v'yithada v'yithaleh v'yithalav Shemei dekudasha b'rehu ve'elah mikol v'kata v'shirata Tushkekata v'nekemata Damiram ve'alma ve'muru.
Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Please rise for the Barchu on page 146.
Baruch Hu Adonai, Amevon. Baruch Adonai.
Please be seated. We continue on page 150. Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadata. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, We will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We now all praise God's oneness as we recite the Shema on page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai, Adonai Echad,
Page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם. ושבתך בדרך ובלכתך בדרך, ושכבך וקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וצלתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. And that.
Together at the bottom of page 154. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions on which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohim Emet. Turn to page 157. We'll read responsibly. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Mi hamocha malim Adonai, mi hamocha nedar b'kodesh, norah tehilot osef norah tehilot osef eleh, yabai vai bim bim bam, yabai vai bim bam, yabai vai bim bim bam, yabai vai bim bam. Ay, 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 bye, bim, bum. Ay, 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 bye, bye, bim, bum. Mahapetuka, Ranu Banecha. Boheyam, Bifnei Moshe, Zeli, Zeli, Anu Ve'amru, Adonai Imlo, Le'olam Vayed, Yabai Bai Bim Bim Bam, Yabai Bai Bim Bam, Yabai Bai Bim Bim Bam, Yabai Bai Bim Bam.
Page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkot shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue with the Shamru on page 162.
Veshamru b'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledoretam beritolam. Veshamru b'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledoretam beritolam. B'nei Reuven, b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledoretam beritolam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledoretam beritolam. Uvayom hashvi'im shavit v'nafash, Shabbat v'nafash, uvayom v'nafash, v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledoretam beritolam.
The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day God ceased from work and was refreshed.
Please rise for the tefillah on page 164, 66, 68, and 70.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Ha'gadol Ha'gibor Ha'nora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Elohei Ha'ol, Bezocher Raskeachot Ve'yimahot, U'Levi Lavi U'Leihem, L'ma'at Shiro Ve'ahava, Ve'le'osem Mashiach U'Makei, Baruch atah Adonai, Makei Adonai. Mani por Elohai, Mechayah Kolataraboshia, Mechayah Chaim Bechesed, Mechayah Kolarabim Rahim, Somen Nofli Rotecholim, Umatir Rasubri. U'Mirainem emunato l'shenei afar l'ikavo ha'yukrot u'midon le'ha le'le'ni u'le'eh u'matzliach Yeshua ve'ne'atah yotavu Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kdoshim l'kol yom yahalalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Please be seated. We continue in the middle of page 173 responsively.
Disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans.
Shock us, Adonai. Deny to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred.
Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears.
Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality.
Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu b'Amcha Yisrael, Tfilatam b'Ahava Tikabel. Find favor, Adonai our God, with your people Israel, and accept their prayer and love. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable. God, who is near to all who call, turn lovingly to your servants. Pour out your spirit upon us. Page 177.
God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, and the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us, so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov simcha u'ka na'eh
Amen. Please turn to the top of page 178 as we join in our prayer for peace. Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav Israel Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Israel Tasim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech adom lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adom lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Israel Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Israel Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam.
Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people forever, for you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. We now turn to our Misha Be'erach, our prayer for healing, on page 371. That's page 371. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. We wish a refuah shlema to Bill Bear, Henry Botek, Karen Chambliss, Rizpa Corley, Eve Alfassi, Nicole Greenblatt, Celia Grossman, Erwin Hale, Glenda Heller, Bob Holtzapfel, David Kay, Evelyn Crane, Robert Kraling, Diana Landau, Lori Licker, Hillary Miles, Gus Murrin, Matthew Murrin, Betty Navarrete, Rika Penick, Vladimiro Penick, Stuart Rossinger, Pam Siegel, Patty Siegel, Kelsey Cyber, Carly Tauber, Harvey Tauber, Jed Tauber, Michelle Tauber, Susan Tauber, Sarah Jane Victor, Arthur Weinberger, Doris Weintraub, and Jody Weiner. If you have a family member or friend you would like included in our prayers tonight, please mention them out loud as we go around the room.
Barbara Rubenstein and Judy Kaiserman.
Ann Bernberg, Jack Eden, Sarah Bernberg, Mark Hanson, Sandy Hanson.
Claire and Larry Belong.
Minerva Unkenin.
Jonathan White.
Ida Silverman, Toby Silverman.
May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, and let us say, Amen.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah God say, Amen.
This week's Torah portion is Parsha Balak, Numbers 22, verse 2 through 25, verse 9. Balak, the king of Moab, persuades the prophet Balaam to curse the Israelites so that he can defeat them and drive them out of the region. However, Balaam blesses the children of Israel instead and prophesies that Israel's enemies will be defeated. God punishes the Israelites with a plague for consorting with the Moabite women and their god. The plague is stayed after Pinchas kills an Israelite man and his Midianite woman. So I found this drash written by Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, may his memory be a blessing, on leadership and loyalty related to the Parsha on Balak. Is leadership a set of skills, the ability to summon and command power, or does it have an essentially moral dimension also? Can a bad person be a good leader, or will their badness compromise their leadership? That is the question raised by the key figure in this week's Parsha, the pagan prophet Balaam. First, by the way of introduction, we have independent evidence that Balaam actually existed. An archaeological discovery in 1967 at Deir Allah, at the junction of the Jordan and Jabbok rivers, uncovered an inscription on the wall of a pagan temple dated to the 8th century BCE, which makes reference to a seer named Balaam ben Beor in terms remarkably similar to those of our Parsha. Balaam was a well-known figure in the region. His skills were clearly impressive. He was a religious virtuoso, a sought-after shaman, magus, spellbinder, and miracle worker. Balak says, on the basis of experience or reputation, I know that whoever you bless is blessed, and whoever you curse is cursed. The rabbinic literature does not call this into question. On the phrase, no prophet has risen in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, the sages went so far as to say, in Israel, there was no other prophet as great as Moses, but among the nations there was. Who was he? Balaam? Another midrashic source says there was nothing in the world that the Holy One, blessed be he, did not reveal to Balaam, who surpassed even Moses in the wisdom of sorcery. At a technical level, Balaam had all the skills. Yet, the ultimate verdict on Balaam is negative. In chapter 25, we read of the ironic sequel to the episode of the curses and blessings. The Israelites, having been saved by God from the would-be curses of Moab and Midian, suffered a self-inflicted tragedy by allowing themselves to be enticed by the women of the land. God's anger burns against them. Several chapters later, Numbers 31, verse 16, it emerges that it was Balaam who devised this strategy. They were the ones who followed Balaam's advice and were the means of turning the Israelites away from the Lord in what happened to Peor, so that a plague struck the Lord's people. Having failed to curse the Israelites, Balaam eventually succeeded in doing them great harm. So the picture that emerges from the Jewish sources is of a man with great gifts, a genuine prophet, a man whom the sages compared with Moses himself, yet at the same time, a figure of flawed character that eventually led to his downfall and to his reputation as an evildoer, and one of those mentioned by the Mishnah as having been denied a share in the world to come. What was his flaw? There are many speculations, but one suggestion given in the Talmud infers the answer from his name. What is the meaning of Balaam? Answers the Talmud. It means a man without a people. Balaam. This is a fine insight. Balaam is a man without loyalties. Balak sent for him, saying, now come and put a curse on these people, because they are too powerful for me. For I know that those you bless are blessed, and those you curse are cursed. Balaam was a prophet for hire. He had supernatural powers. He could bless someone, and that person would succeed. He could curse, and that person curse a person, and that person would be blighted by misfortune. But there is no hint in any of the reports, biblical or otherwise, that Balaam was a prophet in the moral sense, that he was concerned with justice, the rights and wrongs of those whose lives he affected, or the rights and wrongs of those whose lives he affected. Like a contract killer of a later age, Balaam was a loner. His services could be bought. He had skills and he used them with devastating effect. But he had no commitments, no loyalties, no rootedness in humanity. He was the man Balaam without a people. Moses was the opposite. God himself says of him, he is supremely loyal in all my house. However disappointed Moses was with the Israelites, he never ceased to argue their cause before God. When his initial intervention on their behalf with Pharaoh worsened their condition, he said to God, "Oh Lord, why do you mistreat your people? Why did you send me?" When the Israelites made the golden calf and God threatened to destroy the people and begin again with Moses, he said, "Now, if you would please forgive their sin. If not, then blot me out from the book that you have written." When the people, demoralized by the report of the spies, wanted to return to Egypt and God's anger burned against them, he said, "With your great love, forgive the sin of this nation, just as you have forgiven them from the time they left Egypt until now." When God threatened punishment during the Korah rebellion, Moses prayed, "Will you be angry with the entire assembly when only one man sins?" Even when his own sister Miriam spoke badly about him and was punished by leprosy, Moses prayed to God on her behalf, "Please, God, heal her now." Moses never ceased to pray for his people, however much they had sinned, however audacious the prayer, however much he was putting his own relationship with God at risk. Knowing their faults, he remained utterly loyal to them. The Hebrew word emunah is usually translated as faith, and that is what it came to mean in the Middle Ages. But in biblical Hebrew, it is better translated as faithfulness, reliability, loyalty. It means not walking away from the other party when times are rough. It is a key conventional virtue. There are people with great gifts, intellectual and sometimes even spiritual, who nonetheless fail to achieve what they might have done. They lack the basic moral qualities of integrity, honesty, humility, and above all, loyalty. What they do brilliantly, but often they do the wrong things. Conscious of their unusual endowments, they tend to look down on others. They give way to pride, arrogance, and a belief that they can somehow get away with great crimes. Balaam is the classic example, and the fact that he planned to entice the Israelites into sin, even after he knew that God was on their side, is a measure of how the greatest can sometimes fail to become the lowest of the low. Those who are loyal to other people find that other people are loyal to them. Those who are disloyal are eventually distrusted and lose whatever authority they might once have had. Leadership without loyalty is not leadership. Skills alone cannot substitute for the moral qualities that make people follow those who demonstrate them. We follow those we trust because they have acted so as to earn our trust. That was what made Moses the great leader. Balaam might have been, but never was. Always be loyal to the people you lead.
Hine matzovu manayim shel Elohim gam yahad. Hine matzovu manayim shel Elohim gam yahad. Hine matzov, la 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 la. Hine mato, la 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 la. Hine mato humanahim, shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine mato humanahim, shevet ahim gam yachad.
I'd like to invite Joy Immontosh, who is our board representative tonight, to share our announcements with you. You can just talk about it. Here, yes, right in front of the mic. Right. I got you. And
so this weekend on Saturday, the Bagels and Bible will not be shown. It will be starting again next week. On Friday, July 2nd, there will be a Kabbalat Shabbat held online. And then as we go into the summer months, please come and join us as congregants lead us in worship during Rabbi Hickman's vacation. It's really important that we continue to come here. Linda's been doing a wonderful job, and Linda Wilson is also coming here, and we have people who are singing. We have Hallie Del Valle, we have our friend there, Cheryl. I've been helping out too, so we're involving the congregation, and perhaps you would like to read too. Happy birthday this weekend, Larry Feinberg, 60. Just like that. Andrew Dressler, Bobby Goldstein, and Carol Roberts. Anniversaries tonight. Let's say happy anniversary to Gary and Joanne Bernberg. It's their 30th, 35th, 34th. Okay, next year will be the 35th. Right, and they are sponsoring a wonderful ONET. Wait till you see it. Burton, Madeline Feinberg, and Jeff and Monica Fishkin. I don't know what your anniversary is. What is it?
Monday.
No. How many years?
29.
29. We'll be coming on 30.
Yeah.
So congratulations to our anniversary people. Temple Israel Sisterhood is hoping that those of you who have not joined, up until now, we are offering a half-year registration, and that will be for only $18. Please, women, join our sisterhood. The money that you pay helps pay for ONEGs and stuff for the kitchen and stuff for the temple. The money isn't kept in our pockets, and certainly not in Rose's pockets. But please think about joining. Give her a call, and we can have you join the sisterhood. One more thing I'd like to say. ONEGs are sponsored by people who are happy to sponsor an ONEG. Sometimes someone will sponsor an ONEG and they would like the sisterhood to prepare the foods and get them ready. And so we do have a lot of wonderful food in our freezer that people have made. And we as a sisterhood have to, as I'm speaking as president, we as a sisterhood have to put on the ONEG. There are times when no one sponsors an ONEG, and then we have to do it ourselves. I would love you to talk to friends or neighbors who belong to the temple if you're willing to help out in preparing the ONEGs and cleaning up afterward. That would be just awesome. I don't know if the men's club wants to say anything. Nothing? Okay. Well, hopefully
On July 4th.
Oh, yes, please go ahead.
You go ahead.
Go ahead.
On July 4th, we have a church that is renting the sanctuary, right?
Right.
Every Sunday. And so they are having a July 4th picnic afterward, and they have invited people from the congregation. And it's in the Shabbat to Shabbat.
So I urge you to make a showing, especially the board and many other people. Please come and show that we're very happy to have them doing that, because they are renting it and that money helps us with our temple. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We continue with Alenu on page 586. And I'd like to invite Joanne and Gary up to open the ark for us. Please rise. That's page 586. 586. Aleinu l'shabea padam lako, la te gula leotse reshi, shelo asanu kiyaye haraso, Bilo samanu kinishpako tadaman, shelo sam kalkenu kahem, legora leinu keho mamona. Vanamu Kori, Umishakari, Umodi, Livne Mela, Malke Hamlaki, Akadosh Baruch, Shekuno Teshamayim V'Yosef Haaretz, Umoshe Mikaro Vashamayim V'Ma'am, Ushchina Tuzo. Ushtrina Tuzo, V'Gavei Meromi, Hu Eloheinu Eino, Eloheinu Eloheinu Kakatu V'Torato, V'Yadatayom, V'Ashevota, Elevavecha. Ki Adonai, Hu Elohim, Bashamayim V'Ma'al, V'Al Haaretz, V'Al Haaretz, Mitachot Eino, V'Ne'emar, V'Haya Adonai, V'Melech Al Haaretz. Vayom Habu, Yeh Adonai Echad, U'Shemo, Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. During the period of Shloshim, we remember Saul Siegel, stepfather of Lori Licker, and father-in-law of Sharon Sandquist, and those who died in this season at years past. Remember for the Yortsites this week of Florence Black, Victor Nathan Black, Samuel Joseph Buckman, Burton Chasen, Charles Sherry, Louis Friedman, Helen Garfield, Emma Lieberman, Anita Middleman, Sarah Pollock, Philip Roberts, Eva Bell Schwartz, Daniel Ben David, Tellen Gonker, Anna Weiskopf, Goldie Zackheim, and Abraham Solitsky. Are there any other names to be recalled at this time?
My sister Linda Schreiber.
Linda Schreiber.
She was
May their Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for blessing. We recite the Mourner's Kaddish slowly together on page 598. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach yute, v'yamlik malchute, v'chayefon u'yamefon, u'chaye l'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei hamaya. Yivarach v'shavach v'par v'tromah v'naseh v'tadar v'taleh v'talal shmei nekudashah b'rifu le'elam mikol birchata v'shirata tushvechata v'nechemata da'amiram v'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'rama, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Please be seated. Cheryl will lead us in our closing song, Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom b'rama, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Oseh Shalom b'rama, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
Adonai Mishmar Tzeitecha Uvoecha Me'ata V'Yad Olam. May the Eternal One guard your coming and your going from this time forth and forever. And let us say, Amen. We'll go in and we'll have Kiddush and Motzi, and then you all can partake of the oneg that Joanne and Gary have laid out.